Welcome to TYT Sports, everybody. Jason Rubin here with one of an esteemed, successful guest we've had on this platform, Brett Davern from the Brett Davern podcast.
Davern. Oh,
I butchered it
We
again.
even went over it.
You know what's funny about that is I was thinking in my head the whole time, I go, Brett Tavern, Brett Cavern, Brett Davern.
Yeah. That's okay. That's the way they used to call it when I'd go to the doctor's office when I was a kid. The nurse would come out and she'd say, Brett, Davern, and then I'd be like, yeah, that's me. Oh, yeah. So it's okay.
Well,
it's all right.
Like I get to look immediately. We had a
Fail.
Immediate fail. Brett Davern. Now that we got it, I'm going to make sure I get it right on the second one and hopefully on the outro of this clip too. Regardless, a very successful podcast has been going on. I just actually listened to most recently an episode of Frankie Muniz, which I absolutely adored because, I mean, I think a lot of the people that watch this show, TYT Sports, are also of the younger generation. So they remember Frankie Muniz being as he came up with our TV shows and things that we
Agent Cody Banks.
Absolute Big Fat Liar, like all these things.
All those things. Of course, Malcolm in the Middle.
Absolutely. If not the most famous, mostly because everyone knows that like Malcolm in the Middle is what created Breaking Bad.
Right.
Bryan Cranston went from being the dad and
Totally.
just needed to break out of that.
Totally.
It's a direct sequel.
Well, you know, Frankie, on our podcast, most recently, you can find it on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. It's free. He told us a story that, like, right now, he and Cranston are emailing back and forth with the showrunner about a Malcolm reunion.
Oh, please.
So if you want to hear all about that, check out our Frankie episode of The Brett Davern Show.
Everything you need to know about the podcast, the show, Twitter, Instagram, it's all in the description below. It's all linked out there.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
People have been telling us all kinds of weird stuff. I think, you know, a lot of the guests that we have, basically what the show is I've been doing this whole showbiz thing for like 10 years now. And I think a lot of these people, like your Tyler Posies and your Frankies and who else, Scout Compton, they don't do a lot of long form interviews. A lot of the interviews they do are like, tell us 10 things you do to prepare for the weekend, and it just runs in like Us Weekly or something. It's very like canned and like thought out. But ours it's an hour long. It's just a conversation, you know? Like, we live in LA and like the let's do lunch conversations, you know? Like, your people get in touch with my people.
Let's grab a quick coffee.
Yeah, well, that's what we're doing on the podcast. You get to listen to those conversations. It's a lot of fun.
You've created a great environment for having those conversations, and that's what's important. We try to do the same thing here is like, yes, we have a desk and a monitor wall and all that fun stuff, but in the end, we're not trying to act any differently, at least in the sports space, than whoever you're with at the bar screaming at each other about your sports teams. If there's a rivalry going on. Like, cause it's amazing because when I was like, not just growing up, but in college, like we used to get into the most heated arguments, like just over the dumbest things in the world.
As you should.
Like things that, but that's what brings it out onto this like platform, onto platforms like you have that make it so interesting. And that's why sometimes the louder you get, the better it is.
Well, and also like just putting a microphone in front of somebody, at first, it's been interesting as a host because I'm not used to this whole hosting thing. You know, I mean, I'm an actor first, a podcaster second. What podcasting has become like my full-time job, though, by the way. But like, it's really cool because at first they're in interview mode. You can tell. They're like giving their little soundbite answers.
Question, response,
but after about 10, 15 minutes, they just kind of sit back and start saying some like really weird stuff. Like Nathan Kress told us about like farting on set in front of his crush. Tyler Posey told us that he goes commando, and I think his exact words were, I just let it do what it does.
Let it go.
I mean, so there's all these like really fun moments. My mom is part of the show. We've made her part of the show. We play silly games with my mom, and so my mom will like be on the phone hitting on Tyler Posey, which is really weird and awkward. And so it's just been really fun. And like I said, it's free. It's completely free. All we ask is that the audience members recommend it to a friend. That's the word of mouth. That's it. Make it spread. It's absolutely worth listening to. So if they leave us a review, I send them an autograph in the mail that I pay for, the postage. So like our show's like just free and interactive and a ton of fun. So that's awesome. Yeah. I like that. That's a really good way. Especially a good way to interact. All right, so to a topic I think that's going to be near and dear to your heart. Let's get to it.
The NBA isn't going to expand anytime really soon. However, they should. And I think a lot of NBA fans in general are waiting for this because, for one, the success of the NBA has only grown over the last 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
With Adam Silver in charge, it seems like it's been going in the right direction, whereas David Stern, my God, basketball reasons Chris Paul can't go to the Lakers, and the frozen envelope, and all the conspiracy garbage that kind of went along with it. But when Adam Silver was talking about expansion, at least back in March, which is a long time ago, however, this is the most really recent news on expansion. He said, quote, "The issue with the NBA right now is every team in essence can have a global following. The need to expand the footprint by physically putting another team in the market becomes less important from a league standpoint, and therefore the way the owners see expansion at the moment is really the equivalent of selling equity in the league." It's just such a business, like the fans don't want to hear that. No fan has ever been sitting listening to Adam Silver in a press conference. I don't know how many people listen to Adam
I have
Silver
a message for you, Adam Silver. If you don't want to expand the league, then give me back my Supersonics.
That's totally fair.
That's what I have to say to you. Like, if you don't want to put another team in, then just give us back our team. They're not having fun in Oklahoma City anyway.
I mean, comparatively.
Come on.
Here's what's amazing, though. The Oklahoma City Thunder following, the fan base, is enormous. But you would think, like, I mean, no offense to Oklahoma City, but ask 100 people.
Come on.
And I think at least 80 would say, yeah, I'd rather live in Seattle.
Look, okay, they won a championship in the early 70s,
yes, they did.
right? Okay, they were in the city for over 40 years. They're actually Seattle's oldest sports franchise.
They were very successful.
That's still running. They were successful. They played against Jordan's Bulls in the mid-90s in the finals with Sean Kemp and the Glove, Gary Payton, and Detlef Schrempf and Sam Perkins and Hersey Hawkins. I can keep going, people. And they were stolen from us. It's horrible. I'm very upset about this.
Do you feel like they were ripped away from you?
Ripped away, and it's almost been 10 years now.
That's what's amazing.
There's a great documentary, by the way. It's called Sonic Gate. You can find it. It before the 30s for 30s were really like a thing. Yes. It should have been a 30 for 30. I mean, it's a really incredible documentary. It talks about how David Stern basically stole our team, how Clay Bennett and Howard Schultz of Starbucks were basically in bed together and had this whole collusion. And listen, my team has been stolen. I'm very upset about it.
Do you know what the best part about you mentioning the whole Starbucks thing is? Like Vin Baker, your Supersonics, is like found like working as like a manager at Starbucks. It all comes full circle. Like
Vin Baker.
If the Supersonics come back, they can immediately hire Vin Baker as an assistant coach.
In what world was Vin Baker supposed to take over for Sean Kemp? That was the idea.
In what world is Vin Baker supposed to be making our lattes? Like it's the same. It's not fair.
It's horrible.
Give the guy like a
horrible.
Come on, there's like 6 assistant coaches per team.
Oh man.
Just make him the Raptors assistant coach.
Like the Sonics are just they're so iconic. You know, Slick Watts, Downtown Freddie Brown, Jack Sikma.
Yeah, you really are right about this when it comes to like the history. And it's not like they were a mecca of basketball.
No.
But they were a very important team.
You know what's crazy,
the most important era, the 90s.
Well, Seattle, though, has become a mecca for basketball. Like, you got Brandon Roy, you got
Jamal Crawford
from Seattle.
Gary Payton went to Oregon State.
Nate Robinson, most recently. There's like Tony Roten and like all these players that are in the league right now. They all grew up in Seattle. One, because Seattle's really rainy. So going outside and playing a lot of sports, you got to be inside and you're on a basketball court. And so it's become people are rabid up there. I mean, the Seahawks fans are the loudest in the league. Well, so we want our team back.
So I think one of the things that has caused an uproar for the Sonics to come back, besides the fact that I don't think they should have left in the first place, and if you look into it, as Brett's saying, like it's a messed up situation.
Yeah,
once again, like the owners are the reason that we can't bring it back. Well, the owners were the reason that you took them away.
Totally.
So it's a two-way street in that essence. But one of the things that helped was, for one, the Seahawks got good.
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden was like, wow, okay, Seattle's becoming a big sports fan. And then the Sounders, the MLS is a joke in the United States. I don't mean that like to offend the MLS fans. My point being is that if you're not following one of like 3 teams in comparatively to like association football and La Liga and Premier League, like it's not even close in terms of viewership and following. But the Sounders have a crazy rabid following, especially against the Timbers.
Oh,
and there's rivalry. So to bring them back now would be the one open window to immediately get those fans who are younger than we are, that are 10 years old, and they can be like, wow, we have our team back. They'll follow them forever.
Seattle also wants an NHL team right now. That's another big thing that the city wants. Did you know, little sports trivia for you, that the city of Seattle, the Seattle Metropolitans, were the first team in North America, in the United States to win the Stanley Cup. It was like the early 1900s.
Oh,
a team
so we're
from
going-
Seattle.
Okay, I was going
This
like
is
to
all
Seattle?
true. They weren't in the NHL, but the Stanley Cup predates the NHL.
Did it rain a lot back in the early 1900s?
Probably, yeah.
It's just
I don't know.
been-
Maybe it was like some pond hockey. But I'm just saying, like, we're rabid for all sports up there. I mean, when I was a kid, every team that was in Seattle was always threatening to leave. The Seahawks threatened to leave, and then they were saved by Paul Allen. The Mariners threatened to leave, and they were saved by the '95 series against the Yankees. The
Safeco Field,
Edgar
absolutely.
Martinez and Jr. and all those guys.
The slide, absolutely.
All that stuff. Skinny Alex Rodriguez.
Skinny Alex Rodriguez, the best position player.
My favorite
at the
player when
time.
I was a kid.
I don't blame you. You grew up with
So
one
they,
of the best
they
ever.
were always threatening to leave, and then the Sonics actually did, and it honestly, like, people, it really does hurt. Like, all joking aside, it really does hurt, and I wish they'd come back.
After they picked up who would be an MVP in the league,
Yeah.
who would make the NBA
Yeah,
Finals.
I know.
Unfortunately, they fell to the Miami Heat, but like that Thunder team would have been a continued success story.
I think that Nick Collison's the only still last remaining Sonic because now Durant's gone. Because we drafted Durant.
On the Thunder itself.
Yeah, because
right,
Durant
right.
was drafted.
Right, if
he
you look
played
at
for
his-
one season in a
in
Sonics
a
uniform.
And it's so funny because him and Jamal Crawford still look like they haven't hit the gym, and that's fine because they're so damn good at basketball.
They're still wiry.
Like, it makes people like me who are pretty wiry in general, like, feel better about, like, well, if Jamal Crawford can do it, maybe I can never go to the gym and be good at basketball
Totally.
too.
Yeah, but for Durant, you just got to be like 6'11 or
Right.
6'10
well, that should
or
just be a
whatever.
7-footer with point guard handles. It's not asking for that
He's
much.
so sick. They signed a thing when they moved to Oklahoma City that's like a shared history.
Yeah.
So people have tweeted me just to get under my skin, like these T-shirts that say Oklahoma City Thunder established in 1960 whatever.
No, that's not right.
They weren't established then, people. That's the Sonics. That's
Established
just,
2008,
burns me
2009.
up. They get to hang championship banner in their rafters, but it's the
What
Sonics.
is it? It says Sonics, though, right?
No, it says Thunder. They have retired jerseys of former Sonics hanging in their rafters.
Yeah, so that's a
this is
little
what I've
messed-
heard anyway.
That's a little messed up.
It's messed up.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
That should not be the case.
Yeah.
I don't agree
Anyway,
with that.
all right, we can
I
move
don't
on.
agree with that at all. I think it should be, if they're going to do
Horrible.
it, put the at least it be first of all, the hats alone, like, they're so awesome. Just little things.
green and gold.
The little things we could
Bring
do.
back our
Russell
Sonics.
Westbrook in a Sonics jersey, it would just be perfect.
All right.
At least make them throwback jerseys. Get the
Yeah,
green back for at least
right?
the Thunder now.
Totally.
But so the other, technically 3 places, one of which I think is so outlandish, but they said, like, well, what if they put a team in Europe? That would cause some travel, obviously.
Totally.
Travel nightmares. But I've also said for a long time, put the All-Star game in Europe, just 1 year.
That'd be cool.
For fun, London.
I'm down with a traveling All-Star game.
Yeah,
That'd
that
be
would be
pretty
fun. Send
pretty
some
awesome.
superstars
I mean,
over
they could
there.
do the
Or
same thing
some
with
games.
the NFL. Like the Pro Bowl could be overseas.
Well, they
you
have
know.
the NFL games in London, but we send, like, the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Like, nobody, I mean, I get
Yeah.
that they sell out, but, like, Wembley Stadium doesn't need to see Blake Bortles play football. Like, they should.
Also, like that game kills my fantasy team every
Every
time
year 'cause they're playing
because
it
I
like-
forget to wake up and set my lineup.
Right. 'Cause you're like,
Oh.
especially here on the West Coast when it's like, oh, it's 5:30 a.m.
Yeah,
football.
they started like
Ridiculous.
before I'm even awake.
Ridiculous. The 2 other places I found interesting was Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And the reasoning for that, they were saying, and by they I mean like forums and CBS Sports was one of the articles that was written up about it. They don't have a professional sports team, but they have a rooted sports history.
Sure.
Like obviously Louisville college basketball team.
And like
successful.
KU,
KU.
of K.
U of K.
however it goes.
Is it UK or KU? KU's Kansas, UK's Kentucky.
Yeah,
so
KU's Kansas. Yeah.
still successful in their past.
Sure.
Muhammad Ali's like obviously roots to it. Like it's a good sports city.
Yeah,
in a
I'd
way.
be okay with that.
And then the third, which I find also very interesting, is actually I guess third or fourth, Vegas or bring back the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Vegas, yeah.
But Vegas has been a while. But like the one reason for Vegas, they're saying too, is I go to Summer League each year, which is crazy fun. Everyone's just kind of hanging out. It's funny because you realize that a lot of the guys that are drafted, they can't be in the casino, they can't be at a club
too young.
because they're 19. Like Chris Dunn could, but it was. Like Karl Anthony Towns, like last year was like 19 years old.
That's
You're
so
like, what are
funny.
you but of course they look. Like here's the problem is Karl Anthony Towns, like if it wasn't for him being a storied basketball player,
Yeah.
like the #1 overall pick, all that stuff, nobody in their right mind is going to prevent him from sitting down at a bar.
No.
Like he's
no.
7 feet tall.
Yeah, he looks like he's
the
well over
beard,
21.
But because your face is everywhere, they're like, nah, yeah, I
It's
know
so funny.
you,
The
man.
only thing he's allowed to do is like go to Penn and Teller. Like stuff like that. Go see like
Cirque
Jeff
du
Dunham.
Soleil. Go see the comment, right? All right, that's what we got for you, at least on the NBA expansion. Make sure to comment below. Again, check out the description to get more of Brett, the podcast, Instagram, Twitter, all the fun stuff
Yeah.
is there. We'll see you in just a minute.